Hey, well, hello, Interworld. We're back. I'm David with Invest Comics. Dear God.
Jared with Invest Comics too, I guess, and Famous Faces and Places.
Oh, why do I always have to be subjected to that on the other side of the camera?
Because that's what your life has come to. You should have rethought those decisions.
Yeah, probably should.
On
Anyway,
with the show.
Yay! Ah! All right, we're actually going to start off with our throwback this time around. We're going to go with Prototype, the first one. Excuse me. Third-person Sandbox game, so running around, doing whatever you want. You got your missions that you can follow, or you can just go around and have fun. Basis of the game is you wake up in the morgue, wondering what just happened. And apparently you were exposed to this virus that gave you superhuman powers. You can transform and shapeshift at will. You can also make your limbs into weapons that you can just, cause massive amounts of carnage and destruction with. Super strong, super fast, jump like the Hulk, run up the sides of buildings.
Like the Hulk.
Mm-hmm. Or, just consume people and become them. Steal their memories and literally become them. It's fun, but at the same time it's like, yeah, I'm bored, I'm going to go eat a human.
This is actually one of my favorite Sandbox games. I had a lot of fun with this. It was probably the first one that I ever actually beat, which is surprising. Because normally for me, they'll just hit a plateau of difficulty where it's frustrating to even attempt to get past it. But this was fairly manageable all the way through, even though there were tough parts. You just had to try a little extra harder to get to them, not an impossible level of difficulty. Yeah, this is a really fun game. Love the graphics. The storyline was really good. Main character's pretty interesting. And yeah, it was overall good times.
And yeah, just fun to grow claws and tear people in half.
Mm-hmm.
So, we like it. Now, moving on to its successor, Prototype 2. For every little thing that game, every slight little issue that the game had, being because there were parts where it felt a little rushed when they came out with it. It didn't look as polished as it could have, just graphically. This game fixes that problem, and then some. This one, they completely ratchet up the powers that you had from the first one. Still running around, still third-person Sandbox game. This time you're actually a completely different character named James Heller, who is actually trying to hunt down and kill your character from the first game, Alex Mercer, because he is your foe in this one. There is yet another outbreak in New York, where the first one took place, and during this second outbreak, Heller, who was a soldier over in Afghanistan, his family was killed during the outbreak. He blames Mercer for this, becomes fixated on him, and then joins up with the military service that is policing the area of what has now become New York Zero to find, hunt down, and kill Mercer, because he just wants him dead in the worst possible way.
I was not very overall impressed with the story of the game. I didn't get too far into it just because I found the character change up and the basic repetition of the story arc from the first game be frustrating. Where look, it's another outbreak, which was the whole thing with the first one. You were trying to stop the original outbreak, and you succeeded to a large extent. Like, there were still small pockets of infection, but they were supposed to have been cleared out. And this one is just oh no, same thing as the last one, slightly different bad guys, but overall it just felt like a repetition of the same story, and that was very frustrating to me. And then the forced character change I did not like, because obviously in games like this where you power up and get super powerful by the end, they need a way to reset you for the sequel, and it's aggravating, and they couldn't think of a better way to do it than just, you're a different character, so you have to start at the beginning.
No, I will agree with Jared. I would have liked to have kept my character. I did prefer Mercer to Heller. The only thing that I really liked about Heller is he's a very, very angry man. I mean, almost Kratos level angry. Mm-hmm. So that does become amusing from time to time. But I will agree with Jared that I did prefer Mercer. I just think they gave a much better power suite to Eller because, as I said, they completely ratchet up the powers to 11 in this one. The way you go about getting them is you literally consume infected creatures to gain every single one of your powers. So you are constantly hunting and evolving to get your new powers in this one instead of they just come to you, which I do like that. It's a nice little change up.
That was one improvement that I did like a lot.
And I do think it was just the slightest bit of cop out for the reset, as Jared mentioned earlier. But at the same time, it's like where they end up going with it at the end of the game. I'm curious to see what they do with it at the, if they do another one, which I hope they do. I just hope they stick with this character and do something a little more interesting with him because, like I said, I love playing with the powers. I do miss the fact that they removed your armor that you had in the first game. They changed that up. They have it where you can actually combine powers now, so it's like you assign a power to, one power to one button, you assign another power to another button, you can literally string them together in combos and do horrible, god-awful things and dismember people and leave just webs of tendril and body parts strewn about all over the place. And that is just fun. So, I really like this one. Jared?
Eh.
Now, for our last one, we actually don't have anything to show you because there is no physical existence of this game. We're going to talk about a digital download of Faery Legends of Avalon. So, Jay, if you're so kind when you're editing it, right here. What Faery is it was it's a downloadable game. It's a role-playing game. Standard turn-based RPG, but unlike your traditional style JRPGs, you don't have random encounters. You'll see the enemies on the board, and you can go around them, or you can just go and attack them. Now, what I really liked about this is that the style is set in old-style fairy tales, so very, very traditional creatures like you have trolls and, traditional takes on ghosts, fairies themselves, there's goblins, there's mermaids, there's...
Don't you fight, like, wildlife as well?
Yeah, there were some crabs and some something else. I can't recall, but at the very time, very, very cool old traditional fairy tale creatures, and they had the old traditional look to them. So it's not your, the Grimm's fairy tales that people are familiar with. It's the old, slightly meaner looking things with teeth and unpleasant look about them.
One really cool thing about it, since you are playing a fairy, there's a pretty good flight mechanic to the game. Do you have to unlock the ability? I don't quite recall.
No, you fly.
Yeah.
You fly
yeah,
everywhere.
you fly right from the beginning, and it really opens up the world around you. You can kind of go around as much as you please, unless there's magic barriers or whatever. But it gives you a lot more freedom than most RPGs normally let you have from the beginning. And that I really appreciate. I'm not typically an RPG player, but the way they did that and taking out random encounters, where it's a little more like Chrono Cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you can see and avoid the battles if you so choose.
Or
really like that.
If you want a bit more of a more current analog, Blue Dragon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one really cool thing about the game that I like a lot is your characters are very customizable. You start off with the base character, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
You choose either a male or female fairy.
Mm-hmm. So you're pretty much limited to that. But as you go through the game and unlock upgrades, when you apply the upgrades, they give you different appearances. You can have dragonfly wings, butterfly wings,
Bird wings.
Yeah, angel wings,
bird wings, scorpion tail, various tattoos of protection and enhancement, various antenna, various different auras. So yeah, that really is a fun thing. As you are leveling up and choosing your powers, you are changing the look of your fairy, and you are becoming more and more formidable looking. And at the same time, you look at that, and then maybe you think back to some of these old fairy tales you look, and it's like, oh, that's why certain fairies had things like that. And it's just like, it's just a great way for them to tie old, like I said, the old style that they're using with the game mechanics itself, and it works really well. Although I will say one thing, if you do pick something, stick with it. If you go with the bird wings, get the bird tail later on so you can get your powers up appropriately. Same thing with the top dragonfly wings, go with the bottom dragonfly wings, butterflies, things like that. Otherwise, your character's going to look interesting, but your powers are going to be a bit off.
Yeah, overall, really cool game. For a downloadable game, graphics were really good. And it has some interesting gameplay mechanics that I like a lot.
Yeah. And fairly sizable too. They had you have 4 different worlds to run around in. Good amount of gameplay. I'm probably getting close to about 15 hours into it, and I still haven't finished it. But yeah, I mean, small little downloadable game, $15. You can't really go wrong for that price. Mm-hmm. So yes, we highly approve.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining us again.
We'll see you next time. And again, we apologize for the slight delay. We were a bit overwhelmed with E3 and various other things. Hopefully, we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.